What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast, brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Monday, August 25th. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from Monday, and we're lucky enough to walk away from Monday without any notable IL placement. So we'll move right into our transaction, starting with Michael Massey, who was activated from the 10-day IL after dealing with an ankle sprain and then a fractured wrist and then a knee sprain. So he's been out for the last 2.5 months. And Massey was primarily a second baseman for the Royals across the first couple months of the season, but he's likely to see most of his time on the strong side of a left field platoon moving forward. So Massey returning to the Royals lineup on the strong side of a left field platoon. Outfielder John Rabe was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. Next, we have second baseman Zach Geloff, who's recalled from the minors. He's going to be the A's everyday second baseman moving forward. He's played like 10 games this year after being the A's everyday second baseman for like a year and a half. He's really struggled with strikeouts throughout his career, so I'm looking for Geloff to finally take off, establish himself. He's always been a great fantasy asset because of his power speed combination, but he's not going to make it in the majors if he can't cut back on the strikeouts. Hopefully we see an improvement in that regard down the stretch. Geloff's return will shift Daryl Hernaiz to the hot corner, which will force Brett Harris to the bench, and in a corresponding move, Luis Urias was designated for assignment. And lastly, Enrique Hernandez was activated from the 10-day IL after dealing with elbow inflammation. Hernandez is expected to fulfill his usual super utility role, playing all over the field for the Dodgers, mostly against Southpaws. And lastly, in terms of news, starting pitcher Kyle Bradish is expected to be activated from the 60-day IL today to make his season debut and his return from Tommy John surgery versus the Red Sox. Now we can take a look at our notable performances from Monday, a day in which we had just 13 games on our slate. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with third baseman Junior Caminero, who helped the Rays to win in Cleveland, going 4 for 5 with 4 runs, a double, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, and a steal to complete the combo meal. He's up to 39 homers and 7 steals on the season now. First one traveled 412 feet at 109 miles per hour, and the second one went 389 feet at 98 miles per hour. And Caminero was a little underwhelming in his brief 2024 debut, but he's been anything but in his first full season 2025, nearing 40 long balls with an 847 OPS. And it's impressive that he's shown this much pop at his age, as only 3 players have ever hit 40 homers in their age 21 season or younger. Mel Ott is the first to do so. He did it at the age of 20 in 1929. He belted 42 long balls. Eddie Matthews also did so, leading this group with 47 homers. He did so in 1953 at the age of 21. And the most recent to do so was Ronald Acuna Jr., who hit 41 homers back in 2019 as a 21-year-old. So Caminero can join this illustrious group of sluggers with just 1 more homer on the season. And it's all pretty completely supported with a 12% barrel rate and an innate ability to pull the ball in the air. Caminero will continue to display elite power numbers. The only blemish in his game is a sub 6% walk rate that will hopefully improve with age, as I'm pretty sure most players, there's probably a study out there, but I would assume most players improve their patience at the plate as they get older, which hopefully will allow Caminero to comfortably surpass the 300 OBP he's struggled to stay above this year. Expect Caminero to be heavily coveted in fantasy drafts next year. Next, we've got outfielder Matt Wallner, who did all he could, but the Twins lost in Toronto. He went 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 2 homers, and 3 runs batted in. He's up to 19 homers now. First one went 419 feet at 106 miles per hour. Second one traveled 432 feet at 112 miles per hour. And Wallner is your typical 3 true outcomes hitter with little defensive value, touting a 12% walk rate with impressive pop, but struggling to make contact consistently, striking out 29% of the time, leading to an abysmal .214 batting average. The power, though, is impressive, as Wallner barrels the ball more than 14% of the time and hits pulled fly balls even more often than Caminero. On top of that, Wallner's plate discipline has actually dramatically improved this year thanks to a slightly more aggressive approach that's allowed him to walk more and strike out less. He's also fixed his struggles against left left-handed pitching this year, which means his playing time is more secure as he's less likely to be platooned. I'd love to see the Twins afford Wallner a full season playing every day in the middle of the lineup to see the full extent of his light tower power. And lastly, we have second baseman Jake Cronenworth, who did all he could, but the Padres lost in Seattle. He went 2 for 4 with a run, a home run, and an RBI. Was his 10th homer of the year, and it traveled 362 feet at 102 miles per hour. Cronenworth hasn't been much of a fantasy asset this year, so it's somewhat surprising to see him sporting his best WRC plus since 2021, which is mostly the result of a career-high 12% walk rate stemming from a patient approach in response to the higher rate of out-of-zone pitches he's seen this year. I'm always confused with Cronenworth because he makes so much contact. He's got like a 93% zone contact rate, but he doesn't sport high batting averages because he doesn't hit the ball hard, and he has the desire to lift the ball despite somebody that doesn't really hit a ton of home runs. Ultimately, I think Cronenworth is a much better real life player than a fantasy player, and he should probably be avoided in standard leagues and even some 15-team leagues moving forward. Not that you should drop him, but somebody to probably not draft going into next year. I know he's super reliable. There's just no tangible ceiling with Cronenworth that really gets me excited. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Monday, check out the Daily Batters Box article over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Emmett Sheehan, who helped the Dodgers to win against the Red Sox, tossing 7 shutout innings, allowing just 2 hits and 1 walk, while striking out 10. He induced 19 whiffs with 40% CSW across 96 pitches, and that 40% CSW led baseball on Monday, earning Sheehan the King Cole. And our backup streamer of the day came through, and this is actually the first time that Sheehan has struck out 10 batters in a game since way back in September of 2023. Sheehan faced a pretty even mix of righties and lefties on Monday, but his locations against righties were phenomenal as he kept literally everything glove side and worked north-south from there, landing heaters upstairs, sliders on the outside edge, and the occasional changeup low. Sheehan's slider was the star of the show, inducing 10 whiffs with 45% CSW, and it was a bit all over the place versus lefties, but the changeup and curveball found enough of the zone, combining for 26% CSW to support a 4-seamer that overall, against both righties and lefties, held a 45% CSW with 6 whiffs. We're still waiting on Sheehan to develop a legit tertiary offering that allows him to find the same success against lefties that he has versus righties with his devastating fastball slider combo. I'd love to see some more development of the changeup before putting a lot of stock into drafting Sheehan next year, but regardless, we're still starting him in Pittsburgh up next. And lastly, we've got Ian Seymour, who helped the Rays to win in Cleveland, tossing 5 scoreless innings, allowing just 1 hit and 1 walk while striking out 8. He induced 10 whiffs with 34% CSW across 67 pitches. And this was actually Seymour's first career start as he spent the beginning portions of the season pitching out of the bullpen. Seymour is a soft tossing southpaw who fits the mold of lefties that have found a lot of success this year with his changeup focused approach. He does give off some Ryan Yarbrough vibes. The arsenal's a bit different, and so is the approach, but I think you get the idea, just soft tossing lefty from the Rays. Though I've been impressed with Seymour's ability to rack up strikeouts thus far, and I think that probably means his put away rate is a bit unsustainable. The 8 strikeouts to just 10 whiffs on Monday sort of lends credence to that hypothesis. Regardless, Seymour cooked with his slow ball on Monday, inducing 5 whiffs with 33% CSW as he was able to keep it low and glove side most of the time, while heaters stayed upstairs for 4 whiffs and 45% CSW. He found a ton of strikes with those 2 pitches, but he still had a cutter to support them in that manner, shooting backdoor against righties while gunning for the outside edge against lefties. It wasn't too impressive, the cutter with just 19% CSW, but it allowed Seymour's other pitches to play off of it by showing a different look. This is another pitcher that desperately needs a better third offering. He does have a sinker, and I think that would fit better than the cutter in his arsenal, and his sweeper does have some potential to earn whiffs against lefties. And if anyone's going to help Seymour figure it out at the big league level, it is the Rays. So this could be a sneaky deep league stream in our nation's capital up next. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Monday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Aroldis Chapman recorded his 25th save with a perfect ninth. Calvin Fauché worked around a solo shot for his 12th save. And lastly, Abner Uribe pitched a perfect ninth for his third save as Trevor McGill was resting after back-to-back blown saves. In terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Jojo Romero recorded 1 out in the 8th for his 19th hold before Riley O'Brien came on, escaping the 8th before blowing his third save in the 9th. The Cardinals would walk it off in the bottom half to earn O'Brien his second win. Dennis Santana was the recipient of his 5th loss in that Cardinals game, serving up a walk-off dinger to Alec Burleson. Kenley Jansen pitched a perfect ninth up by 4. The Angels had put up an insurance run in the top half, ruining his save opportunity. And lastly, Andres Munoz worked around an unearned run to close out a 4-run lead in the 9th. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on PitcherList.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Tuesday, August 26th, a day in which we'll have a full slate of 15 games. My matchup of the day is Dylan Cease versus Luis Castillo. Castillo has been up and down throughout the season, but the Mariners have been really dope this year. So looking forward to seeing Castillo help the Mariners push towards the playoffs. And Dylan Cease is always somebody that can rack up a ton of strikeouts. So looking forward to seeing these two right-handed starters, Dylan Cease and Luis Castillo, square off. In terms of probable starters, we've got 3 guys in our auto starts tier, including Hunter Brown versus the Rockies, Matthew Boyd in San Francisco, and Jacob Mizorowski versus the Diamondbacks. Our probably starts tier has 6 guys, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Kyle Bradish versus the Red Sox. Bradish is returning from Tommy John surgery, so this is sort of a still ill, though Nick is pushing for this one as Bradish has gotten enough pitches in his rehab starts to be able to go deep into this ball game. And in the past, or at least before the injury and surgery, Bradish was somebody who was one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. So hopefully he can make a smooth transition from the IL, from the minors to the majors, and that'll be Bradish against the Red Sox. I'd also keep an eye out for Parker Messick versus the Rays. He once again fits that mold of a young southpaw who has found success with a changeup focused approach. He'll get the Rays offense outside of George Steinbrenner Field, so it's not a super scary offense to face, and Messick was really good in his MLB debut, so we'll see if he can keep that rolling in his second big league start. In terms of hitter suggestions, I've got a few for you. I'll be targeting Braves hitters versus Sandy Alcantara in Lone Depot Park. We've got a lot of hitters that have had success against Alcantara in the past, including Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna Jr., Jake Fraley, Michael Harris II, and Marcelo Ozuna. I'd also target Ernie Clement versus Bailey Ober in Rogers Center. Ernie Clement has batted 300 with a homer and a 900 OPS in 10 at-bats against Ober. I'd also target Brandon Nimmo versus Jesus Luzardo in Citi Field. Nimmo has batted 333 with a homer and a 10-12 OPS in 15 at-bats against Luzardo. I'd also look at Nick Castellanos versus Sean Manaea in Citi Field. He's batted 333 with a trio of homers and a 1266 OPS in 15 at-bats. Lars Nootbaar is also somebody to target versus Mitch Keller in Busch Stadium. Nootbaar has batted 391 with a homer and a 1082 OPS in 23 at-bats against Keller. I'll also look at Taylor Ward versus Patrick Corbin in Globe Life Field. He's batted 400 with a homer and an 1105 OPS in 15 at-bats. And lastly, I'll be looking at Elias Diaz versus Luis Castillo in T-Mobile Park. Diaz has batted 364 with a homer and a 1021 OPS in 11 at-bats against Castillo. And now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Andres Munoz has pitched in 3 of the past 4 days, so we could see Matt Brash get a save opportunity for the Mariners on Tuesday. And lastly, Dennis Santana has pitched on back-to-back days, so Isaac Mattson should be your go-to guy out of the Pirates bullpen on Tuesday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to PitcherList.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the PitcherList staff. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.